I'm Katie and I'm a woman in long-term recovery. For me, that means I haven't had a drink or illegal substance since January 21st, 2016. And, my story starts off as a really kind of boring one, to be honest. I came from a really good family, still connected with my family to this day. I had some struggles in my youth with just, feeling comfortable with myself and anxiety. I've always had anxiety. But besides that, I had a pretty normal run-of-the-mill childhood. And again, I like to say that because I feel like people think people that develop substance use disorder, all of them, something bad must have happened to them. What happened to them in their lives that they use drugs? And it's like, that wasn't my story. My story is that, unfortunately, in my early 20s, I was introduced to OxyContin. I used it recreationally on the weekends with a boyfriend. Quickly developed a dependency, and within a year, I was an IV heroin user. Yeah, because it just became too much to manage. The pills every day, they were expensive, they became harder to get. I feel like this is a lot of people's story, is that we didn't know what we didn't know. We were just using things recreationally like everyone else, and then we became dependent, and we just couldn't get out of the cycle of using and withdrawal and trying to find the next one. And that lasted 10 years for me, until my early 30s is when I got into recovery. It's hard to explain to someone that hasn't experienced it before. A physical craving for opioids to me in my body feels like if I just ran a marathon and I had no water. That urge to drink, that's what it feels like. Your whole body, your mind, your spirit, it craves it. Like, it's one of the most, it's just a wild experience. If you haven't experienced it, it's hell on earth. I started to enter like 30-day treatment programs and cycling in and out of the correctional facilities, because I started to get involved with law enforcement when I was shoplifting or, trying to sustain my daily habit, doing criminal activities. So by that time, 2016, I was in a women's jail in Massachusetts. And when I got there, they told me I was pregnant with my son. So, I don't know why it clicked at that time. I don't know why I decided that I was going to try recovery again, but I just did. I jumped in feet first, and I went to treatment for 6 months. I graduated. I had my son, healthy, beautiful. So getting through pregnancy is the easiest part, is really what I feel, because for me personally, when I was pregnant, I had so much hope. I had so much will to try to better myself and better my life. And I knew that if I used the substances that I used, that it would affect the baby. Postpartum, though, you don't have that restriction, and you have all the stresses of taking care of a newborn, if you have any other children as well, still going to recovery meetings. I was going 3 times a week, bringing my newborn out to these meetings that are usually in the evenings. I also had a therapy appointment. I had my child's appointments. I was running all around. I didn't have transportation at the time, so I was taking the MBTA everywhere, and I just became overwhelmed. Postpartum, I got on buprenorphine when the cravings were so strong that I felt like if I didn't do something, I was going to use. So I went to the doctor, and he prescribed me medication, and it's worked. It works so well. I do go to mutual help meetings, not 12-step, but they're Buddhist-based. And I also do a lot of meditation. I have a therapist that I still see to this day, and I have a strong network. I have women that when I'm struggling, I can call, and they'll come and pick me up, and we'll get coffee, and we'll take our kids to the park, and we just normalize it, because that's what it is. We're just living our lives, and we kind of have this substance use disorder in the background. And as long as we keep it at bay with the things we know that help us, then, it stays there. When you're working with someone with an addiction, look for the silver lining. We never know when the light bulb's going to go off. And anything you do that day, it could be your smile, it could be your warm hello that gets them in the door, and they could be in recovery for the rest of their lives.